Hi, I am Puvanendran, Assistant Professor in Department of Commerce with Computer Application, KSR College of Arts and Science for Women, Tiruchengod. Now discuss about the GST, procedures under GST, registration under GST law, mandatory registration required for business exceeding the prescribed turnover threshold, voluntary registration available for business below the threshold allows availing of input tax credit. Process online application through the GST portal, submission of required documents, and verification by GST authorities. Tax invoice, credit and debit notes. Tax invoice issued by the registered person for the supply of goods or services. Credit note issued when the value of supply is reduced post invoice. Debit note issued when the value of supply increase post invoice. Contents like must include details like GSTIN, invoice number, date, description of goods or services, and amount. Different GST returns. GSTR1 details of outward supplies. GSTR2 details of inward supplies. Currently, this one is suspended. GSTR3B summary return for tax payment. GSTR9 annual return. GSTR9C reconciliation statement. Electronic liability ledger, credit ledger, and cash ledger. Electronic liability ledger, records of tax liabilities. Electronic credit ledger, records of input tax credit available. Electronic cash ledger, records of cash deposits for tax payment. Assessment under GST, self assessment, taxpayer assess and pays tax. Provisional assessment for taxpayer with insufficient information. Scrutiny assessment, verification of returns by tax authorities. Best judgment assessment, when a taxpayer fails to comply with provisions. Interest and penalty under GST. Interest charges on delayed payment of tax at the prescribed rate. Penalty imposed for contravention of provision varies based on the nature of the offence. Mechanism of tax deduction at sources (TDS) and tax collection at source (TCS). TDS and TCS. TDS tax deduction by the deductor at the time of payment of the supplier. TCS tax collected by the collector from the buyer at the time of sales. Complaints, both TDS and TCS require timely deposit and filing of returns. Audit under GST. Types like GST audit conducted by the tax authorities. GST annual return audit conducted by a chartered account or cost accountant. Purpose to verify the correctness of returns and compliance with GST provisions. Customs Act 1962. Customs duty. Customs duty is a tax imposed on goods when they are transported across international borders. Its purpose is to regulate the movement of goods, protect domestic industries, and generate revenues. Objectives to restrict import or export of prohibited goods, regulate international trade and protect domestic procedures, to generate revenue for the government, to prevent illegal imports or exports like smuggling. Territorial waters and icings. Territorial waters extend 12 nautical miles from the baseline of the coast. Goods brought into India within this zone are subject to customs law. Indian government exercise sovereignty and customs duty is applicable. ICs beyond the 12 nautical mile limited. Goods in IC are not yet within the customs duties. Customs duty is applicable only when the goods cross into Indian customs territories. Levy of customs duty. Levy refers to the imposition of customs duty on import-export goods. Key section. Section 12 of the Customs Act 1962. All goods imported into or exported from the India are liable to duties. Section 14. Valuation of goods are determining duty charitable. Imports duty is levied at the time of entry into India. Exports duty is levied at the time of clearance for exports. Authority Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs enforces the customs law. Valuation under the Customs Act, Section 40, valuation of goods. Customer duty is levied based on the transaction value. The price actually paid or payable include the cost of transactions, insurance and handling charges up to the Port of India. Valuation of components. FOB, free on board price, freight on insurance, SIF, cost of loading, unloading, handling, design and development charges if paid outside India, royalties and license fee if applicable, customs value, SIF addition as per rule 10 of customs value rules. Baggage rules and exemption. Baggage. Personal belongings carried by the persons during travel. Baggage rules 2016 amendment. Framed under section 79 of the Customs Act. Govern what a passenger can bring duty free or with concessional duty. Duty free allowance. Indian residents returning from abroad. Adult duty free items are 50,000 for air. By land 15,000, minus up to 15,000. Jewels, ladies for 20 grams, men's for 20 grams up to 20,000. Exemption items, no customs duty. Personal wearing apparels, laptop one person, used personal effects, books non-commercial, prohibited and restricted item in package. Firearms, narcotics, counterfeits goods, animal products, etc. Restricted items require prior permissions or license. Concessional rates items above the free allowance attract 35% of duty plus 3% cess. Thank you.